What's up, ladies and gentlemen? So, subject of this video, load tolerance and injury, aka how much weight can you lift without hurting yourselves. So, let's start with a concept. Load tolerance. This comes somewhat from the world of physical therapy, and simply refers to the loading capacity of a joint, of a muscle. So, you're doing bicep curls. How much weight can your biceps muscle handle before you might incur injury? Obviously, if it's too heavy, you can't move it at all. If it's heavy enough where maybe you can only do 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 reps, that might not feel so good on your joints and tendons. Lower rep ranges, specifically the 1 to 5 range, because this is heavier weight, this puts more stress, obviously, on the body's connective tissue. 5 to 10 reps, that's a bit lighter. It's moderate reps. This tends to cause less of an issue. And 10 to 15 and 20 plus reps, that rarely causes an issue because the weights obviously are lighter than the 5 to 10 or the 1 to 5. As we age, there's something that I call the threshold of injury, where as your weight gets to a certain level, if the weight gets heavy enough, you are more likely to injure yourself. Now, some people will argue, if you're young and you're watching this, you're in your 20s, and you insist that you're never going to get hurt and you're never going to get injured and you'll be lifting heavy forever, do you have another thing coming? As we age, we get stiffer. Why does this happen? For a very simplified reason, we lose hydration in our tissue as we age. Our body literally gets drier. Our body water, our cellular structure begins to diminish, and we get stiffer. And stiffer tissue, which I call dry tissue, is more likely to tear, because the attachment of muscle tissue, I'm going to draw a terrible bicep arm muscle right now, the attachment of muscle tissue to tendon and tendon to bone, that is not as strong due to the stiffening effect. So if you have your upper arm bone here, let's pretend this is a bone, and then you have your forearm, you have the radius in your ulna, and you have your bicep muscle, which attaches to a tendon about here. Some high-level artistic, scientific work right now. And then we got the bicep tendon up here that's attached into the groove. And then here is our nice red bicep muscle. Hopefully it's hypertrophied and it makes us happy to have big arms. Okay, there's your bicep muscle. As you get older, the muscle tendon attachment here is not as strong. And this is not just your bicep muscle as you age, as you get into your 40s and 50s. This is all the muscles in your body. So even if you're lifting weights, you're doing plyometrics, you're doing intense stuff, you're keeping yourself fit, some level of stiffness is going to happen. And if you go, let's say, really heavy on bicep curls because, I don't know, ego, and this tears, well, now you're hurt. How can you avoid hurting yourself? Well, you can lift more moderate, you can lift in a more reasonable rep range. And what you find with people who have had past injuries, put that on this side, past injuries. Past injuries, their load tolerance in their injured joints declines. In some cases, it's because they had a partial muscle tear. In some cases, perhaps they had a tendon tear. In some cases, maybe they had a ligament tear for some reason. That'd be a bad injury. But if you have experienced past injuries, orthopedic injuries, your load tolerance probably went down, and it's unlikely that it came back or you got it back to the same level. Maybe you did. If you rehabbed perfectly, awesome, good for you. But you might notice aches and pains, niggles, as the Brits like to call it, and that affects your threshold of injury. It's not as high as it was before. This, if you contextually account for this, this somewhat explains why some bodybuilders like to utilize pre-exhaust training and they'll save their heaviest lifts for last, because if you get exceptionally strong, even the moderate range, let's say you're doing deadlifts, for example, you're going 500, 600 plus pounds deadlifting, that's a lot of weight for anyone. regardless of size. If you go heavier than that, higher likelihood something bad happens if you make a mistake. Also goes for bench press and squat as well. The heavier the weights get, the more likely they are to kill you. The possibilities there. So how can we avoid the weights killing us? How can we avoid a blowout, something ripping off? Well, we can save the heavy stuff to the end, pre-exhaust the muscles, just get them already fatigued, fatigue out those larger type 2 fibers. And then by the time we get to the really heavy lifts, we're not going to be able to handle as much weight, but we're still going to get a good level of stimulation. We're still going to get growth. And as I said, low tolerance theory, if you want to call it that, threshold of injury, this would explain why certain lifters like to save the heavy stuff for the end, like to pre-exhaust, versus doing it at the beginning and following the classical mantra of do your hardest stuff first and your easy stuff last. Reverse that, maybe, for longevity purposes or as you age. So that's low tolerance theory, threshold of injury. Train smart, don't hurt yourself. If you guys have any questions, put them in the comments, and I will see you all. Oh, wait, no. Remember to like and subscribe. There we go. And I will see you all in the next video.